Snow, I have had a week, a couple of days from just hell.
I'm sorry to hear that, MJ.
Just everything. You know what makes it better, though?
Beer?
Pizza and beer.
I was like, oh, yeah, the pizza, too.
Yeah. Canvas's fire. They make
Yeah,
great pizzas.
the pizza was good. We tried the white pizza this time, which had chicken and meatballs on it. It was delicious.
With a white sauce.
Yeah, white sauce.
And mozzarella and cheddar. It's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even had to use some hot sauce.
Yeah,
But,
I sprinkled on a little Frank's Red Hot, but, I put that shit on everything.
Yeah. Well, that's just a teaser for what's coming up in the next few weeks. Follow us on our social medias.
For y'all.
Yeah.
I'm only hosting the event.
Yeah. We'll get you to sample some of it.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the mild ones, and then I'm tapping out, but no.
So follow us on our social media. We have a new Facebook page, The Reality Redemption Podcast, since my old page was hacked and it's no longer there, so I can't access it. So the Reality Redemption Podcast on Facebook, Reality Redemption on Instagram, and we even have a TikTok now.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, we got to keep up with the youngins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so TikTok, we're getting some views there.
Really?
So,
I
yeah.
wouldn't think they would want to listen to old people.
Yeah. Well, no. I put in the clips of, like Brent Terhune, making fun of us.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are always funny.
And, so Reality Redemption on TikTok. And also, we have a new feature. If you listen to this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, right up the top, it says send us a text message. And if you send us a text message, we will read it on the air. Okay? Got comment, complaint, opinion. Or if you want to do a question about relationships, we will Dr. Ruth this shit up on the air. Dear Abby.
Or they could ask a question about anything, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they can even talk shit about us. Who cares? We'll read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be funny, so send us some crappy stuff.
Yeah, we're not afraid.
Yeah.
So send us a text message. So this week, where do we start? I guess we start. I did not know the dangers of boats and batteries in boats.
I love boats.
Yeah. Well, I can't swim.
Really?
Yeah, legitimately, I can't swim.
You don't know how to swim at all?
I don't know. I mean, throw me in the water. Maybe I'll figure it out.
Well, no, that's not really the way it works, but I didn't know you couldn't swim.
Well, it came, I think, partially from, we had a family camp up on a lake in Vermont growing up. And I was like, one of my first memories was being like really young. I was probably like 3 or 4. And I fell off the dock into the water.
Wow.
And, they pulled me out. I mean,
jumped in.
Looking back, as I grew up, the water's literally, I could have just stood up and I would have been fine.
Oh,
it was shallow. It was shallow.
How did you not get hurt then falling in the water? Like, how did you not get hit your head or something?
I don't know. There were rocks there. Maybe I did. Maybe that explains some things.
Right. Yeah.
But no. And then the first memory I have of going to a movie was 1975, and my parents took me to go see Jaws.
Okay.
And although I love the movie, I think that might have something to do with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sharks.
Da-da-da-da.
Which brings us to, how everybody says Biden is senile and he's incoherent?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we hear that one damn near daily.
Yeah. And somehow he's a criminal mastermind through all this,
No, how do you have such memory problems, yet you are a criminal master? How does that work?
Okay, so, and I started to believe it because I heard we're about to play it on it. So I heard this really incoherent rant about batteries and sharks. And can you pull that up?
Yeah.
I went to a boat company in South Carolina the boat. I said, how is it? He said, it's a problem, sir. They want us to make all electric boats. So I said, let me ask you a question. And he said, nobody ever asked this question. And it must be because of MIT, my relationship to MIT. Very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. So there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted? If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, nobody's ever asked me that question.
You mean someone from MIT couldn't answer that question?
Well, I don't think somebody from MIT ever asked that question.
Yeah.
That's what he said. He was bragging about
wait a minute. But that wasn't Biden, though.
No, we all know who that was.
Yeah.
And I would like to just clarify that this is not AI. This is a real actual clip.
He really said it.
He said this in
Las
Nevada.
Vegas.
He was in Nevada doing a rally, and he said this in front of the crowd. And even his moron followers, you should have seen the looks on their faces back there. They're like, it's almost like they had the look on their face like, I can't believe I'm supporting this guy because that would literally never happen. Like, like it doesn't, things don't work that way.
Yeah. Now, first of all, do you think MIT actually stood for not the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, but megalomaniac, ignorant tyrant?
Perhaps. On that day it did.
Yeah. You can you just picture him like, yes, you go into the water, the shark's in the water, and they look at you with those cold black eyes, like Biden's eyes. And you start pounding and hollering. Well, now I'm doing Quint. I'm not doing Trump. But, that whole speech and like, yes. And then you hear the screams of liberals. How idiotic did that statement sound?
I don't know. And then it's like, if you're trying to talk to people about that because you're in Nevada talking to a crowd in Las Vegas and you know that they have a lake there, there's no sharks in lakes.
Yeah, there's no sharks in lakes.
Just to make things clear.
You're the farthest away from a shark than you can be, except for Iowa.
Sharks live like in the oceans, okay? They don't live in lakes.
Well, you could go to the Shark Reef Aquarium.
And that's in a lake?
No, at Mandalay Bay. The Shark Reef. But
all right, but boats aren't allowed in there.
Well, you could have a remote-controlled boat that runs on a battery, I guess.
How are you going to be in that boat that's a remote-control boat and fall off into the water and get ate by the sharks? Yeah. And, the sharks in there, anyways, they got those sharks swimming around other fish, other sea life. They feed those sharks well so those sharks don't eat the other fish in there. Yes. Because, you could go to the Golden Nugget one, too, where you could walk. You know how you can go on the slide through them, but you can walk through the back part and see all of them. Because I go there and I'm like freaked out. Because the things that creep me out the most about sharks are their mouths. Like they're smiling with those fucking teeth, man.
I lived in Virginia Beach for a short time, and the first time I went to the beach, I'm out there and I'm about at chest level, and about 15 yards away, I see like this dorsal fin come up, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
Get out.
No, it was a dolphin.
Yeah, I'd still get out though. Like I wouldn't wait for it to get closer to find out. Dolphin or shark?
Yeah, dolphin could fuck you up too.
Well, they could hump you. Like, they like to rape people. Yeah. They're like...
Kind of like Trump.
Like, Trump probably likes dolphins. Yeah. He's like, if it's a dolphin, no problem. But...
Yeah, well, a little rapey.
Maybe I'll try to rape the dolphin before he rapes me.
And I won't have to pay it off.
All right.
Well, the other thing, Trump is more like a shark, though, because... that scene where they shoot the 3 barrels into the shark, and the shark, he can't go down. Not with 34 indictments in it, he can't go down.
Well, it doesn't seem like he hates sharks. So he is like a shark because he picked, if you were to pick either you're going to stay on the boat with the battery or whatnot and it's sinking, but you see the shark right over there, he's like, I'm jumping in with the shark. Okay, but either way, you're going to die, dumbass. According to you, if you sink down and then you die from the battery, what do you think's going to happen to you if you jump in the water with the shark?
I don't know. You just punch it in the nose. That's what I heard. I heard sharks don't like that. You punch them right in the nose.
Well, yeah, you could try that, but what if he gets you from the side? Like, you don't even have a chance to punch him in the nose. Yeah. Or would you still want to risk it? Would you still want to jump in with the shark?
No.
This is now going to be the new episode. Would you pick the boat, the sinking boat, or the shark? Like, would you pick the man or the bear?
I'd pick the electric eel. Because the electric eel would shock the shock. So that's my Boston accent. Shock the shock. Get it?
Shock the shock?
Get shocked?
Shocked?
You ever been shocked?
Oh, yeah. No,
by a shock? Shock.
Yeah, shock it.
All right.
Shock it to you.
So speaking of indictments, Hunter Biden was found guilty of that gun charge.
Right. So maybe this will bring about gun reform in our country?
Well, it shows that the legal system works, right? As designed.
But not, okay, so it would be interesting for me. This is an interesting point for me. Like, when I did grand jury and you had to indict people, there were people who got indicted. Like, there was this one where I argued with the lawyers on, because I'm like, we had this case where the guy was in his car, he had drugs in his car, and he had a firearm in his car. And he got charged with having a firearm. And I asked the question, I go, well, wait a second, was he like being threatening with the gun at all? No, the gun was just sitting there. It was in the glove compartment, like the center one. You know how like vehicles have that? No, it was in the center compartment, and he wasn't doing anything with it. And I'm like, then why is he getting in trouble? And they're like, because you can't be stopped and have drugs in your car and a gun in your car.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of crappy. It's not like he was. What if he's a legal gun owner? They're like, nope, doesn't matter. Okay. Does not matter.
All right. So let's do some rudimentary law here. Before a case is brought to a jury, it has to go through a grand jury first, right? To see if there's enough evidence to bring it to trial.
Right.
This is the way the legal system works. People, you can look this up. It's out there. It's out there. Okay.
It's
not this fixed system. Okay.
This is not something that Reality Redemption is making.
Right. Up. Right. So whether the case is brought to trial is decided by the grand jury. Then it goes to trial where there is a judge, even if he's corrupt, and a jury of 12 of your peers. Mm-hmm. They listen to the evidence as it's presented and decide on a guilty or innocent verdict. And it has to be unanimous between all 12 jurors.
Or it's a hung jury.
It's a hung jury. Okay, this is just how the legal system works. So in Hunter Biden's case, how they got him was on the form, little box that you check off. Are you on any illegal narcotics? Or I forget the exact wording of it. And you either check the box or you don't check the box. My question is, how many people are actually going to check that box yes?
Right, because they know they're not going to get a gun sold to them.
Correct.
So they would never check the box.
The system is flawed.
Right.
Anyone would be convicted of what Hunter Biden is convicted of. Now, I'm not making excuses for Hunter Biden. He was found guilty. Yes.
Yeah.
He
broke the law.
He is 100% guilty in this case of what he did. Okay, so we're not defending Hunter Biden at all.
We're not, because we're not morons. We're going with the justice system. The jury found him guilty. He's guilty. Even though the jury even had said, there was members on the jury that said, we kind of thought that it was excessive. Other people don't get in trouble for this, but what were we supposed to do? It's the law. Yeah,
even Lindsey Graham said the average American would not be prosecuted on this.
See, that's why I brought up me being on grand jury. So a lot of people got indicted on that because that wasn't the only case we had with guns and firearms involved. Firearms and drugs involved. So my curiosity is just for myself going through, like having seen the process. I wonder how many of those cases, how many of those folks actually got that charge thrown against them too, or if that one was one that got dropped. You know what I mean? Because you know how they do the plea deals all the time.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. So don't you think if you want to really be more honest about that question, should someone on illegal drugs be given a firearm, why don't you implement a drug test?
Well, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, okay, so we've heard from folks on the right before that are always up in arms over, they think that there's so many, like everyone that is in the welfare system, they think is a milker and a lazy person, you know? So they came up with that law, I think it was in Tennessee, where they decided to start drug testing people in order for them to get their food money. So, okay, how would these people feel? Because it's not like I'm advocating for what I'm about to say, but how would these folks feel if they are now required to submit a drug test in order to go buy a firearm?
Yeah. And
how's that make you feel?
And you know how it would react. I mean, come on. Even if you're against what we say on this podcast,
right,
you know what the reaction would be.
Up in arms, hair on fire, rioting in the streets.
Right. But we're just saying logically, if someone on drugs, if you want to prevent them from getting a firearm, give them a drug test, right? Because that would solve the issue.
You think those college kids are fucking rioting too much? What do you think it's going to look like when you do this to the gun crowd?
Yeah. And I was expecting the NRA to make a statement on it where, hey, well, this would infringe on gun owners' rights. But guess what their message was?
Probably
the law.
Stay out of it.
The law worked as designed.
Oh, I thought that they would have the same response that they did in the Philando Castile case, which was nothing.
Yeah, just say nothing.
They never said anything. They didn't stick up for him at all. And he said before he got shot, he said, "I am a legal gun owner. My gun is in the glove compartment." Couldn't have been more unarmed. I mean, and also legal gun owner.
Yeah. And just saying that, hey, which is what you're supposed to do when you get pulled over if you have a firearm in the car. Now, I've been pulled over with a firearm in the trunk, and the first thing I said was, I have a gun in the trunk.
Right. Right. He was doing the same thing that everyone would think they're supposed to do.
Yeah. So, and a lot of these people don't have the gun in the trunk.
No. No, most of the folks I know drive with it in the glove compartment.
So then it gets into, okay, Hunter's guilty. Okay, guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now the legal system either is working as designed, but now the message from one side is that Joe kind of threw Hunter under the bus and they had to convict him and they were taking one for the team to prove that the system isn't corrupt.
When you say one side, are we talking about 8chan here? Are we talking about the QAnon? The QAnon
I don't
site?
know. This
That's got to be where that came from.
This is the sharks and battery argument. You know, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
God, and you just wanted to get him. Oh well, and they just gave that charge so it would cover up Joe Biden's crimes. Oh, you mean senile Joe Biden?
Yeah, the criminal mastermind. Which one?
Mastermind.
Senile Joe Biden or criminal mastermind Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Which one of them? Which one?
It can't be both.
Which one are we? Yeah, which one are we talking about today?
Like, you can't really be a stable genius, and your improv is sharks and batteries. That's not stable genius.
No. I wouldn't even use the word genius in that sentence either.
He uses genius, though, not me.
Oh, I know.
He's smarter than all the generals.
No, he thinks he's smarter. Well, narcissistic folks think that they're the smartest person on the planet, that no one comes close.
Speak about narcissistic people. Snow and I do this fun thing where, we'll turn each other on to documentaries. Now, 95% of the time, it's something horrific, right? It's either cults.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of cult documentaries, some murder documentaries. So Snow was like, you got to watch this. And it was Hitler on the Nazis, Evil on Trial on Netflix, which is fascinating. I mean, I consider myself a small World War II buff on it. I was into it in high school, so I read books on it. But no, we were not taught the deep dive of how Hitler actually rose to power.
And speaking on this, one could technically argue that this was also a cult documentary too. I mean,
it was when
you watch it, you're going to very much so. And I strongly urge that everyone watches it. Anyone who has Netflix, please try to watch it.
Right. And so you realize that he grew up, he wasn't a real popular guy and stuff like that.
And he was upset that he wasn't. He thought that he should have had more credit and, like, what do you say, like grandiosity, like, thrown his way. Like, he thought that he was way far more special than he was.
Yeah, and it goes through. It was almost like I can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it because they would let me. Was his niece.
Oh, that part was fucking disgusting. That reminded me of Trump too, with Ivanka. Like, you know that those two were fucking.
Yeah. It's alleged. We don't really know the full history because no one really knows. But it was alleged Hitler was having some kind of relationship with his niece, and
she killed herself over it. Though,
yes,
so you're like
with his handgun.
I know. Like, it's like, and they used to have quite a lot of alone time together.
Yeah. And sorry if you want to watch this documentary, we're going to talk about it. So spoiler.
Yeah,
alert.
but a lot of so that's a fact that I had heard briefly. I didn't hear it as much detail as they went into in the documentary, but I had heard the rumor about it.
Right, and then that was before he went to jail, right?
I think so.
Right, and then he goes to jail. What did he go to jail for?
Oh, God. Why didn't you look this up before we came on here?
Anyway,
I didn't know you were going to ask this.
We watched the documentary. No,
here's the thing. Here's the thing. The documentary is a 6-part episode documentary, and each episode is at least an hour long.
Yeah, so there's a lot of information to digest.
It's at least 6 hours long total.
Yeah. So he goes to jail where he writes Mein Kampf. And I did not realize that he wrote that in jail.
Oh, okay.
Which is my struggle.
I knew that. I didn't know that part, that's where he wrote it.
Which kind of laid out the groundwork of his plan.
His plan. And the book, Mein Kampf, like, is it on the list of, like, banned books that you can't get?
I don't think so.
See, because I would really want to read it just to read, like, his actual words.
Yeah, to get inside his brain.
Yeah, to try to understand, what was going on. I mean...
Well, apparently Donald doesn't read his. It just sits by his bed.
Well, he doesn't read any book. But there's been scholars who have read the book, to understand more of what he was actually saying. But they talk about, like, in the documentary, how the book is full of, like, racist shit in it. Like, just full of hatred. And how much he,
so he
disregards other folks.
Yeah, so he gets out of jail, and he, for lack of a better term, starts to develop a cult following and gets into power and quickly works his way up the system.
Right.
Right, and because shortly after he gets into office, we have the Great Depression, which is something that I didn't really realize, that being a superpower in the United States, the ramifications that the Great Depression had globally.
The Great Depression affected the entire world. It affected Japan, too, which we'll go into later, but it affected everyone.
Right, because a lot of other countries' money was tied up in U.S. banks. So when the U.S. And again, this is all history, people. Okay, we're not making this shit up.
We're not making this shit up. Okay, this is. Okay. I know you're gonna think exactly like we did, because when I started watching the documentary, and I told you, I'm like, holy fuck, you got to watch it, because they didn't teach us this shit in school. They didn't teach us all this stuff.
Yeah, you just learned that.
And our parents weren't even born yet. Like that was like, it skipped like a whole generation. I mean, my grandmother lived during this time.
Yeah, like what did, like, World War II, we probably covered it like in maybe a week in history class at some point.
I don't even think, honestly, at my school, I don't even think we talked about it not a whole week. I doubt it.
Okay, so what basically what you knew, the basics is Hitler was evil, started the Holocaust. If you believe,
tried to kill Jewish people.
If you believe in the Holocaust, and he invaded other countries, Britain, United States aligned, and with Russia, and
they were considered the big three.
Yeah. So the axis of evil was Germany, Italy,
and Japan. Yeah.
So, boom. Okay. So Hitler moves into Austria. He takes over Austria first, because that's where he's from. He wasn't from Germany. He was from Austria. That was where he was born, raised. And people kind of thought under the radar, like, okay, well, he's going to stop there. Because when he went to Austria, he was popular, and they didn't stop him, because Austria really had no real army to stop him. And he came in.
Well, also because of him being from Austria too, that's why they kind of liked him also.
Yeah.
And we should also mention too, like, the reason why he was also pissed about, wanted to make Germany this great superpower was because, and in his own words, I mean, I can't tell you what they are in German because I don't speak German, but he said, make Germany great again, because he was pissed that Germany had lost in World War One. Right. And he was a soldier in World War One.
Which was the Second Reich was World War II.
I thought the Third Reich was Hitler.
No, I'm sorry, I misspoke. The Second Reich was World War One, and we stopped them in World War One. And so Germany kind of slinked down and Germany was in a really bad economic state. So you get this popular figure who has a message that really bonds with the people.
Well, he had got elected to Germany first. He had got elected. And then shortly after that, that's when the Depression hit and it wrecked everyone else's economy. So he used that too to convince the German people that he was going to help them and bring them out of it.
Bring them back to the level that they were at.
Right.
And lift them up.
He was going to make Germany great again.
So using this economic message to make Germany great again.
Yeah.
And it was really popular with younger people.
And women. Younger people and women were his biggest supporters.
Yep. And it seems like every time someone like this comes along, in order to make yourself bigger and stronger, it seems like you have to push down on someone else.
Well, that's how cults work too, though. And see, the reason why I consider the Nazis also a cult too is because cults focus on the one person. It's not so much the idea. It's more focused on the one person rather than the country in his case. Like, this is what I found insane when I kept watching it. Like, every time they'd show clips of Hitler and they'd show clips of the streets of Germany, you didn't see any German flags.
Right.
You saw none. You saw nothing but Nazi flags. And I mean lined the streets.
Right. Which was a design choice by Hitler, which it was, I forget where, the Nazi symbol is actually really was considered a peace symbol before.
Right. Well, in a different culture, and it was taken from that and turned into
right. So make Germany great again, and the symbol is the Nazi symbol. You don't see the German flags; you see this other cultish flag that you relate to this person.
Right. It's all about
the flag.
him.
Yeah, the flag relates to this person.
So the best way I can describe it for people to understand in our country too, if you'll notice, go to any Trump rally, go drive around anywhere in rural America. There's people who've got that flag flying instead of the United States flag,
right.
and it reminded me of that.
And that's kind of where I was going here in a kind of a slower manner. I know it's really easy in today's political climate, like we compare people to Nazis. The Republicans consider the Democrats Nazis because of cancel culture, right? Oh, we'd be you Nazis.
They were the first ones to cancel somebody. So I don't know what they're talking about. Colin Kaepernick. Do I need to say this every time we talk about cancel culture?
Yeah.
They canceled a football player.
Yeah. For practicing his
For
First
taking
Amendment
a knee.
rights. So
peacefully protesting.
So this is where we're going, and we're not explicitly calling anyone specifically a Nazi.
I didn't say that.
Yeah. Well, no, that's but we're saying is the comparisons are really close.
What? Yeah,
in history, just history wise.
That was the point that I thought I was making. Was like, because I'm not going to sit there and call Trump a Nazi or even call him Hitler or anything like that. All right, because first off, I don't think that anyone will ever be on the level of Hitler. I don't think there's anyone that is going to ever be that fucking evil and destructive, because I think that nowadays you would be able to stop them. What my point in for saying that is, folks, we're starting to go a little down that road. Like right. it's a little bit going down that road. And shouldn't we know better from what happened to not even take a few steps down that road?
Right. And like in Germany's case, this was before the United States got involved in everything. That the United States is kind of, when they went to Austria, they just kind of sat back and they were like, okay, we're going to watch this closely. And we don't think he's going to go any farther. Well, then he goes into Poland. And he realizes he can do that. And then he goes into France. And France kind of just laid over too. Let it happen. The British are the ones who stepped in there and really fought back, because if there wasn't, that the channel between France and Britain, he could have just easily gone into there.
And the Russians were fighting them the whole time too.
Yeah,
I mean, he was really afraid of the Red Army, more so than he was of the United States.
You had the Western Front and the Eastern Front on it, because once they got into Poland, now they're right on the border of Russia.
Right.
And he at first had an alliance with Russia. Well, I wouldn't say an alliance, but they kind of had this understanding, like, all right, this is the red line. Don't go any further. And then whoever, I forget who the leader of Russia was at the time, but
Stalin.
So Stalin and Hitler had a fallout, and that's when Russia got involved and say, no, you're going no further. Because I guess they had the agreement in Poland, like they had the map and said, well, Russia gets this part and Germany gets this part, and that's where it got kind of murky.
Yeah.
And so we get involved because of Pearl Harbor. Now, Japan is part of the axis of evil, as we said earlier. Attacked the United States at Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, because they were angry over the shipping lines.
And they couldn't get oil.
Yeah.
That's what it...
So they attacked us, and when we declared war on Japan, then Germany declared war on us.
Mm-hmm.
Although it was a good year and a half or so before we got into any kind of skirmish. It was just kind of a Cold War of sorts. You're at war with them, but nothing. There was really no conflict on it. And
no, we'd have to like step forward more to like the atomic bomb to go.
Right. Well, yeah, and
to do that.
And there was that whole race between the United States and Germany on who's going to develop.
Well,
the
yeah,
nuclear bomb.
because they were. That's why the United States was like really it was a race against Hitler to who was going to get that bomb made first.
Right. Yeah, and if you've watched Oppenheimer, it gets into all that stuff.
I know. So I watched the Oppenheimer movie, but then like Peacock does this great thing where it just recommends the next thing for you to watch, and it recommended and went right into this documentary about Oppenheimer, which I happen to like even better than the movie.
Really?
Yes. Yes, because like I said, it shows real footage from that time, and you've got like the historians explaining it to you more than you watching a movie.
Right.
Yes, it's based on fact, and I really don't like the guy that played Oppenheimer.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
I'm not saying look, he's a good actor. I couldn't stand like sitting there looking at. He looks like a skeleton. Like he's just creepy.
How long did it take you to realize that was Robert Downey Jr.?
Oh, as the senator guy?
Yeah.
Right away. I knew that right away.
Well, I knew it was him, but
Yeah.
it didn't really look like him.
I could tell it was him right away. But it was, the guy, I don't know the name of the actor that played Oppenheimer, but he is a creepy looking dude. Because like real Oppenheimer, they showed real Oppenheimer had some of the most beautiful blue eyes I've ever seen in my life. They looks like ocean water almost.
Like my eyes. Yeah, so... And then we had like this past week D-Day, and so that's where the tides really turned on the beaches of Normandy, and we prevailed. And between us and Russia, we closed in on Hitler, which was a really bad decision. Why did he have that compound out in that area? That was just a bad idea. He should have just stayed in Berlin.
Oh, Hitler having the underground bunker?
Yeah.
Probably he thought maybe more security for himself.
Yeah, well, how'd that work out for him?
If you're it wasn't really that. I mean, he's the one that chose to. The only reason he killed himself was because Mussolini and his mistress got strung up in town, and he didn't want that to happen to him. Right. He was afraid of the Red Army coming in and getting him, so he went ahead and offed himself.
Yeah.
Him and his wife of one day.
Yeah.
They got married yeah.
Dude, I saw the movie Downfall, and if you haven't seen it, it's a German movie about Hitler. It's all German. You have to read the subtitles and stuff like that. And the worst scene was when he was trying out the cyanide pill on his dog. Who does that to dogs?
Well, Christy Nome. It's like I wonder if she realizes that she has something pretty damn upsetting. A commonality with the great Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, so we're not saying that certain parties are like Nazis, but you killed your own dog.
Right.
You have a populist message, make Germany great again, or make America great again. You have your own flag that you sell to all your fans, and you only want those flown at like your big rallies and everywhere. Right. And then you try to make yourself bigger by pushing down on people now. And Germany had a really problem with immigrants at the time too. Kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? Like and I know the people that we demonize here, how is it different when you call them like dirty Mexicans or saying they're all rapists and drug dealers?
Oh, I know, especially when like watching the documentary and it shows like all the propaganda that they use. Like they would make the posters with Jewish people on there, and they would make the noses even bigger, and just like super stereotypical bullshit. But those are all real. Like I have seen all those posters. If you go to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., you can see all that propaganda that they used. to advertise them being against people.
And this is in school. These are grade school age kids that are getting this propaganda.
The whole country, though. I mean, those signs were plastered all over up in Germany to teach people, these people are bad. We need to handle them. We need to take care of them, Yeah. And you know what I mean by take care of them?
Yeah.
I mean, like, we need to get rid of them.
Right. So isn't the messaging kind of similar? I mean, just the overall messaging. I'm not saying like.
Right. Didn't he?
I'm not saying we're going to have concentration camps of, or are we?
Well, he's mentioned concentration camps
rounding
for the
them
homeless,
up. Yeah.
For the homeless.
Yep.
He goes.
Well, no, not concentration. He doesn't use the term concentration.
He said camps, though. Maybe he didn't say concentration, but he said he wanted homeless camps, homeless encampments.
Yeah, and he even used the term.
Going back to the documentary real quick, because that's exactly how Hitler started too. Though when he first had the camps, they were not death camps. They took like the worst people of society.
Kind of like reassignment camps is what they called it, or something like that.
And they did testing on them. They used them for testing. They did all kinds of, and people, see, the German people were being lied to, though, because they were being told that they were being shown videos of like people doing well and they're like smiling and whatnot in these camps, but that was not what was happening in real life.
Yeah.
So
just the messaging is really similar. And
yeah, because didn't he, let me try to do an impression of the former president, Donald Trump. Didn't he say something like, they're not bringing us their best. They're sending us rapists and drug dealers and murderers from Mexico. They're not sending us their best. Did he say something along those lines?
And he even had this campaign video that he posted on his True Social that said, when in office, we're going to have a more united Reich. Now, Reich is a term that I have never associated anywhere else but with Nazis.
He said Reich?
Yes, a more united Reich. He said that. No, not him. Somebody in this campaign made a video and it said a more united Reich.
Was it Stephen Miller?
I'm not sure. Probably.
Because he's like, that guy's just weird. God, he's creepy.
But could you be more any explicit than that?
Yeah, Reich. I thought Reich pretty much only had to do with Germany. Like,
yeah,
because you had Reich.
The Third Reich was Hitler's reign.
What does the word Reich mean?
Yeah, and what's concerning?
What does the word Reich mean? Does it mean like the third power, or
it's like almost like an empire type?
Oh, so like the Third Empire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Germany had their first one, which was quite a ways back, where they rose up, and I think they defeated the Romans or something like that. And then you had the Second Reich was World War I, and then you had Hitler, the Third Reich.
Yeah.
So it just gets concerning when, and this is just not in the United States, but around the world, where these hard right politicians, even in Germany, are getting elected.
I know. Well,
and in France.
Yeah, Italy. Italy has their leader, that woman, she's far right. Yeah. The one that just got elected. Well, not just, I should say, like, I think a couple of years ago.
Right. And that's where they all have the same messaging. Put our country first, and then demonize immigrants. Well,
you've got, like, far right movements popping up across the entire globe. I mean, it's not just the United States.
But I just found it alarming watching this particular documentary that you almost see it coming again. Not like I'm not saying that we're going to exterminate.
I know
1 million immigrants.
We're not saying that it would, but why take the chance on letting it get even any steps further? With giving someone that much power, why even take the chance?
Yeah. And like,
why not nip it in the bud?
Right. And like Trump said,
get your bud nippers.
Like Trump said, he's going to be a dictator the first day, and the first
but
day
only day. Only day one am I going to be a dictator.
I wonder if Hitler said the same thing.
Well, it's like, okay, if you, let's pretend for a moment that somebody did that, okay? I'm only going to be a dictator on day one, and they were a dictator on day one, and then they realized how great it made them feel to do all this powerful stuff. Do you think they're going to give that up?
Yeah, and
I mean,
and he said, like, we're going to shut down any kind of protests,
right,
after the election if you don't like the result. Seems kind of dictator-like. And the other thing that was really similar was Hitler knew how to draw a crowd. People would come out from, and Hitler was one of the first ones that came up with the idea of speaking to a crowd that you'd have to have a PA system because so the people in the back could hear you.
Right.
You know, and it also just, and people were just feverishly behind him. And his speeches, he always seemed just really angry. Mm-hmm. Just really, I'm like,
he had to rile up the crowd.
Yeah, and you
get them excited.
I mean, if you didn't have subtitles, you couldn't really understand what he was saying, but he was saying some horrific shit.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you had to, because it was actual real footage from past speeches.
That's where I also found this documentary fascinating, was the real footage of him, because I haven't seen that much real footage of him.
I know, I had never seen not anything like that. Like they'd show like baby clips, minor clips sometimes of him up there. And his hair flapping around and whatnot, but and not to where they'd show so much of what he was saying.
Even when he had the mountain villa, I thought that was fascinating to see him. He never looked like he was a totally relaxed guy.
No. Well, he was on methamphetamines damn near the whole time. So what I found out fascinating, I can't remember if this was in the documentary or I had looked it up after the fact because I was looking more up into his suicide and whatnot. And after he died, his remains, him and his wife's remains,
Eva Braun.
Yes, they went to Russia, and they had just confirmed, because remember, for years they're like, oh, Hitler never really, it was like a fake, and he really went to Argentina and lived out the rest of his life. So they tested the remains. I want to say in 2017 or 18, they did more forensic on his remains.
His DNA.
Yeah. And they found out that they're pretty sure that they can't conclusively determine that he actually did take the cyanide pill. They think that he took the cyanide pill because the dental work had something like blue or something in it, but they knew that it was actually his dental work because he only had 4 teeth. All the rest of his teeth were false teeth. And he had bridge work because there was metal in there and whatnot. So they used the dental records. And I'm like, well, yeah, he did so much drugs that especially the meth, he would have lost a bunch of his teeth from that. But they determined that he did in fact shoot himself in the temple because they found, they got the DNA from that. And that Eva Braun did die from ingesting the cyanide. She didn't get shot too.
God.
But
the most disturbing part of it was, I think it was in the 5th episode when they were showing the footage from the concentration camps, and I think that's some of the most disturbing shit I've ever watched.
I know. It was, I had seen minor bits and
piles
pieces.
Of bodies and stuff like that.
You'd see pictures, but to see it continuously like that, and then just after and over and
the condition of the condition of the people that you could tell that were starving.
Yeah, walking around like skeletons, and then when they eventually died, just thrown right on top of each other, just
yeah. So
just bones.
I think it's just a cautionary tale is what we're saying when we're looking at our own governments and stuff like that.
The one part where I, getting back to that really quick, where I started crying was whenever they were talking about how, I can't remember if that was after he killed himself and the soldiers came in and they were talking to the woman that had asked the soldier, "Can you please give me some milk for my baby?" And he, I can't remember if it was him or the woman, took the blanket off, and the baby had been dead for like a few days.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I'm like.
So there's a saying, if we don't learn from our history, we're doomed to repeat it. I'm not saying we're going to repeat it just like this, like in the Holocaust, but
the thing is, yeah, going along those lines, we're doomed to repeat it. What people don't realize is everything is a gradual process. It's not like day one, he got into office and then it just went straight to that. I mean, like, we need to stop it. We need to not let any progression happen because of what we've been taught already.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
like, shouldn't that be the common sense thing there? Is like, right. Okay, whoa,
and
we're already seeing too many similarities.
And being Pride Month, the one thing I didn't know is what's the first group that Hitler went after?
The transgender community.
Correct.
Back then in Germany, they used to talk about how they had 3 sexes. There was female, male, and transsexual. There were 3 sexes back then. Back in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah. And Hitler liked scientists too. He surrounded himself with some scientists.
Right.
So, yeah, they determined there was 3 sexes.
Yes, because, speaking of him liking scientists, one thing that really pissed me off was at the very end of the movie when they talked about how it wasn't only the United States, so I shouldn't just include our country in the fun. I say that sarcastically. I do speak a lot in sarcasm, but when they talked about how after the fall of Hitler, if there were Nazis who were skilled in technology, like scientists and whatnot, and weapon making, and they had those kind of skills, not only the United States, but other countries involved in all of this, took them in with no penalty because they wanted them to help make guns and weapons.
Weapons, yeah.
In our country. So there were lots of Nazis who went free for what they had done.
So
we're not held accountable.
So on that, yeah. And this on a little lighter note is a little known fact about me. My mom was adopted, and my grandfather, and that's all I know. I didn't adopted whatever. I didn't find out till later on in life that, she was adopted. But my grandfather was German through and through. Okay? And he's about that age because my mom was born in 1944.
Oh, okay.
So, that's about the right age. And I had always thought, because I used to, be little, we'd drive around upstate New York and stuff like that. And my grandparents could be a little bit racist. You see like a certain type of people and they would go, "Oh, those people." And even as like 10 years old, I was like, "What do you mean those people?" I'm like thinking in my little head, like, that's not quite right. And I always kind of had that thought in my head, like, I wonder, Herbert Winters. And I think I need to do a 23andMe and look at, well, not just me, but my family history and just see, when did my grandfather get here?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you could look it up.
Yeah. But no, he was a great, loving, kind person and stuff like that. It was just that little bit of racism that they had. And I guess a lot of people had back then. It was kind of more accepted back then. But anyway, that's more a joke than anything else. We got Juneteenth coming up next week. And all this talk about Germans and Nazis. How much, like, to be like a straight white man, how uncomfortable is June for you?
I don't know. We'll have to ask
you
some of them.
You have Pride Month and you have Juneteenth.
Well, there's lots of straight white men, though, that it doesn't bother.
No,
like, you're a straight white guy.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me because I don't have a complex.
Right.
I don't feel like I'm being held down at all.
Right. Yeah, so it just depends. I mean, yeah, I'm sure it bothers.
If people are insecure.
Some of them, yeah. That's something they need to work on. Maybe go to counseling for that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and June is also Men's Mental Health Month also.
Work on yourselves, guys.
So yeah, just let people be who they want to be.
Self-love, some self-help.
And you know what? Be like me. Just like when you walk into Walmart, be like, just no one get near me, no one look at me, no one talk to me. I just want to get in and get out. Just be more like that. Just be more like,
mind your own business.
Mind your own business.
Mind your own fucking business.
Yeah, we'll be a whole lot better place.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our message. Mind your own business.
Mind your own fucking business.
Yeah. Okay.
I kind of like it it puts a little pizzazz in it.
Yeah. And on that note, we'll wrap this one up. Good talking to y'all. Follow us on the social medias. And we will be back very soon. We have some great episodes planned. So stay tuned.
Bye, y'all.